Hello Year 3, welcome to Maths This Week. This video I put up on the YouTube website for Monday, but really it's the video for most of your lessons this week, all combined into one. We are going to be looking at reading and writing the time using one of these clocks that you can see here. Now this clock face is a little bit different from the ones that we have in school and the ones that you probably see around your house, because at the moment there are no hands on it, but we'll come to that in a little bit. This kind of clock we're going to be focusing on all week, where you have a circular face and the numbers 1 to 12 going around the outside, and you may already know that this sort of clock is called an analog clock, and that's the spelling of the word right there. And so this week we're going to be reading and writing the time using an analog clock. So first of all, we're going to revise some of the learning that hopefully you remember from your time in Year 2. So you can see first of all I've got two clocks on this slide. The first clock on the left hand side shows you the time 7 o'clock, and we know that because if we focus on the hands of the clock, which you can now see I have put on, we have the long hand here, which is the minute hand. The longest hand is always the minute hand, and whichever number that is pointing to, it tells us the number of minutes past the hour that we are. And then the short hand on an analog clock, you can see here, is pointing at the 7. The short hand is always the hour hand on these clocks. So at the moment the hour hand is pointing to 7, so we know that we are in the 7th hour. And because the minute hand is pointing to the 12, we know that it is 7 o'clock. So whenever the minute hand is pointing at the 12, we know we are at the start of a new hour, and so we say o'clock. Over on the right hand side, we can see that the short hand, the hour hand, is pointing between the 9 and the 10. The minute hand, the long hand, is now pointing to the 6. When the minute hand is pointing to the 6, we say that it is half past the hour. So in this case, we are half past, and the hour that we are halfway past is 9. So the hour hand is not pointing at the moment to an actual number specifically. It is pointing halfway between 9 and 10. And that is because, according to the minute hand pointing at the 6, we are half past the hour of 9. So we would say this time is 9:30. Okay, so this slide here just refers to what I was talking about previously with regards to past the hour. So this clock here, you can see I have divided it in half, and I've shaded the right hand side in blue and the left hand side in pink. I've also taken out the hour hand for now, and I've just left us with the minute hand. So the minute hand currently is pointing to the 12, so it would be o'clock. If I move the minute hand around this half of the clock, round to the 6, where it's half past, if the minute hand is pointing to any of this side of the clock face, we would always say that it is showing minutes past the hour. Okay, that's the first important thing to remember. If the long hand, the minute hand, is in the right hand half of the clock face, or the blue half currently, then we always say minutes past the hour. If the minute hand is pointing somewhere to a number on the left-hand side of the clock face, so currently the pink side of the clock face, then we change the language that we use. And we say, well, we no longer say minutes past the hour, we say minutes to the next hour that the time is coming up to. And we always usually find that times that are to the next hour are always a little bit tricky to read, but you will become very confident with that as the days go on. So from this slide, the important knowledge to remember is that if the minute hand is pointing anywhere in this right hand side of the clock, the blue half, we say minutes past the hour. And if the minute hand is pointing anywhere to a number on the left hand side of the clock, the pink half, we say minutes to the next hour. So this is the last slide of revision that hopefully you are remembering from year 2. In fact, it could be that the next slide is the last one, but we'll see. What I've done here now is with our clock face, I have drawn another line going horizontally from the 9 across to the 3. So what you can see now is that I have divided our circular clock face into quarters, which is a nice link from our fractions work over the past few weeks. So we can see here we've got the first quarter, this blue quarter here. So if the minute hand was pointing to any of these times between 12 and the 3, we refer to it being past the hour. This second blue quarter here, again, it's still minutes past the hour. When we move into this first pink quarter here, we would start to say minutes to the next hour. And this final quarter here, again, we would say it's minutes to the next hour. I've put some new vocabulary on these slides here. You can see over here, next to the 3, I've used the words quarter past. And that is because if I grab our minute hand over here, if the minute hand is pointing directly at the 3, the language we would say is it is quarter past whichever hour the hour hand is pointing at. And similarly, I'm going to put that back. Similarly, if we've got our minute hand here pointing at the 9, so pointing at quarter to, we would say it is quarter to the next hour. That's if the minute hand, the long hand, is pointing at the 9. So here we have all of the vocabulary that we have come across so far, and I've got lots of minute hands here that I'm going to place on our clock. So just to recap, if the minute hand is pointing to the 12, we say it is o'clock. We are at the start of a new hour. If the minute hand is pointing at the 6, we say it is half past the hour. If the minute hand is pointing to the 3, we say it is quarter past the hour. And if the minute hand is pointing at the 9, we say it is quarter to the next hour. Okay, so hopefully that vocabulary is familiar to you, and we're going to need to use it as we go through our next half of the lesson. So here I have back the clock face that we looked at to begin with, the analog clock face. I've taken off the hands again, but I have left some vocabulary. I've left o'clock, and I've left quarter past, and I've left half past, because at the moment we're just going to be focusing on this right hand side of the clock, because we also need to learn in year 3 how to tell the time to the nearest 5 minutes, because sometimes it isn't o'clock exactly, and sometimes it isn't exactly quarter past when we read the time. there are times in between that we need to learn how to use. So, one really important piece of information that you need to know about these analog clocks is that each of the big numbers going round the side, 12, 1, 2, 3, etc., the distance between each of those numbers is 5 minutes. If you look very closely, you can see that in between the 12 and the 1, there are 5 little black lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And each of those lines refers to 1 minute. But for the moment, we're going to be looking at these longer black lines that you see next to every one of the numbers. And each one of those long black lines refers to 5 minutes in time. So, where the 12 is, you can see that we have 0 minutes past the hour because we are at the start of a new hour. When we move round to the 1, if the minute hand is pointing at the 1, we would say it's 5 minutes past the hour. And moving round, when we get to the number 2, we say 10 minutes past the hour. Moving round to number 3, we could say 15 minutes past the hour, but we tend to use the language quarter past. 15 minutes past is accurate, we tend to use the language quarter past. Moving round, the 4 is the same as being 20 minutes past the hour, and the 5 is 25 minutes past the hour. When we get to the 6, we say it is 30 minutes past the hour, but we usually say half past instead of 30 minutes. Now, lots of you at home will have noticed that the numbers in blue are in fact multiples of 5. They are the outcomes in the 5 times table. So if you are confident with your 5 times table, which you should be, then you can use that knowledge to count in 5s around the clock face. So this hand here, this minute hand, I'm going to bring in and I'm going to point it at o'clock, at 12, which is 0 minutes past the hour. So if my minute hand is pointing at the 1, we would say it's 5 past. If it's pointing at the 2, we would say it's 10 minutes past. And then quarter past. And then we would say here, pointing at the 4, it is 20 minutes past. 25 minutes past. And then pointing at the 6 would be half past the hour. Okay, hopefully that has made sense at home. Because then we need to look at the other half of the clock face. So you will notice here I've taken away quarter past. I've replaced it over here on this side with quarter to. And we are now looking at the left-hand side of the clock face. Now this is the trickier half of the clock face to read, but I'm going to show you the same procedure that we looked at just now. Once again, the 12 shows us there is 0 minutes to go until the next hour because we are there already, we are at o'clock. And we now work with our 5 times table again, but this time we are going round to the left-hand side. So if the minute hand is pointing to the number 11, we say there are 5 minutes to go until the next full hour. And the same pattern works on this side of the clock. So if the minute hand is pointing at the 10, there are 10 minutes to go until the next hour. If it's pointing at the 9, there are 15 minutes to go until the next hour. We tend to use the language of quarter to. So it's quarter to the next hour. If the minute hand is pointing at the 8, we say it's 20 minutes to the next hour. Pointing at the 7, we say 25 minutes to the next hour. If the minute hand is pointing at the 6, we can say there are 30 minutes to go until the next hour, but we do still tend to use the language of half past. We don't really say half to the next hour, we still say half past the hour that we are currently in. So if I put the minute hand back on the 12 where it's o'clock, if I take it back to the 11, we say it is 5 minutes to the next hour. If I take it round to the 10, we say it's 10 minutes to the next hour. Quarter to the next hour. 20 minutes to the next hour. 25 minutes to the next hour. And if it was pointing at the 6, we would still say it's half past the hour that we are currently in. Now that might be a lot of new information for you. Please don't worry if it takes you a little while to get it right every single time. The more you practice reading the time using one of these clocks, the more confident you will become. Okay, so lots of the work you are going to be looking at on our website this week asks you to read the times on different clocks. So here's an example here of questions that you might be faced with. So looking at this first clock here, the first hand I'm going to look at is the minute hand, which is the longer hand here. And the minute hand is pointing at the 2, and because it's pointing at the 2, I know that it is 10 minutes past. Okay, so what I might do, I'm going to try and type as I do this at the same time. I might write down 10 for 10 minutes and then past. To know which hour I am 10 minutes past, I need to look at the hour hand on my clock face here. And the hour hand is pointing at the number 5. It's not pointing at the number 25, and this is key information here. The blue numbers are referring to minutes past the hour. They link to the minute hand. When you're reading the hour, you need to look at the black number. We don't have an hour of 25 o'clock. We have an hour of 5 o'clock. So the hour hand is pointing to the 5. So this time here is 10 minutes past 5. Hopefully you can see that. Okay. This clock over here, again, let's look at the minute hand. The longer hand is pointing to the 3. If I just take it back a little bit, I know that that is the same as 15 minutes past. I've also remembered that actually we say quarter past when the minute hand is pointing at the 3. So again, if I try and type while I'm holding the camera, so we would say quarter past, and then the hour hand here is pointing to the 8 and also the 20, but remember the 20 refers to minutes. We are pointing at the 8. So we would say quarter past 8. In actual fact, I'm just going to refer to this a little bit here. The hour hand, I have actually placed it not exactly on the 8, but a little bit past. And that's because we are moving through the hour of 8 o'clock. You will notice this if you study an analog clock. The hour hand doesn't just jump from 8 to 9 at 9 o'clock. It moves slowly between the hour as the minute hand goes around. So quarter past 8, you would have the hour hand just a little bit after the actual number 8. Okay. So I've got 2 more examples here for us to look at. And this time we're going to look at reading times that are to the next hour. So this clock over here, looking at the minute hand first, the minute hand here is pointing at the 8. Because it's the minute hand, we need to look back actually at the blue numbers here, and we would say, okay, it's pointing at the 20. So it is in fact 20 minutes to the next hour, okay? So the hour hand is the short hand here. Might make it a little bit shorter actually to make it slightly more clear. We are saying 20 minutes to the next hour. So the hour hand is here. It is almost pointing at the 1. Okay, the hour hand has gone past the 12. It is not 20 minutes to 12. It is 20 minutes to 1 o'clock. And that's why reading times that are to the next hour can be very tricky, because it's very tempting to say it's 20 minutes to 12 because we're looking at what the hour hand has gone past. Because we're working on the left hand side of the clock, remember it was shaded in pink, we're saying 20 minutes to, and we are coming up towards the hour of 1 o'clock because the hour hand is almost at the 1. This clock over here, start off with the minute hand. The minute hand, the long hand is pointing to the 11, and that is the same as 5 minutes to. So if I can just type here, we would say 5, 2, and then the hour hand, which is here, the short hand, it is almost at the hour of 6. Remember, not 30. We don't say it's 30 o'clock. We would say 6 o'clock. And the hour hand is almost at the 6 o'clock. When the minute hand gets to 12 in 5 minutes time, it will be 6 o'clock. So we would say it is 5 to 6, or you could say 5 minutes to 6. Okay. Right, so this is the other type of question you're going to need to practice over the next few days. We've got lots of questions where you have to read the time, and the other half of the questions are when you have to draw the hands on the clock face to show a particular time. So this first clock here is asking you to show 25 past 4 or 25 minutes past 4. So you're wanting to draw some hands on your clock. So I'm going to start with the 25 here, which refers to 25 minutes. And I would draw my long hand, my minute hand, all the way to the 5, because that shows 25 minutes. Past the hour of 4 o'clock. So my hour hand, which is going to be shorter, I would draw it in between the 4 and the 5 to show that we are past the hour 4 o'clock. We are working our way round towards 5 o'clock. So I'm going to put the hour hand almost halfway between the 4 and the 5. Remember, it must be shorter than your minute hand. This clock here, I want you to show me 20 past 10 or 20 minutes past 10. Remember, past the hour, we are looking at the right hand side of the clock, and I can see from my blue numbers here that 20 minutes past is the same as pointing to the number 4, and it's a minute hand, so it's got to be long. So 20 minutes past is pointing at the 4, and the hour that we are 20 minutes past is the hour 10 o'clock. So my shorthand, I'm going to put almost halfway between 10 and 11 because we are 20 minutes past 10 o'clock. Okay. Just 2 more examples to show you for drawing hands on a clock face, and this time we're going to work with coming up to the next hour. So 10 to 7 or 10 minutes to 7. We need to now remember to go backwards on the left hand side of the clock because we are going to the next hour, and I can see I'm going to go backwards in my 5 times table. 5, 10, 10 minutes to The next hour is at the 10. So my minute hand, my long hand is going to point to 10 because it's 10 minutes to. And the hour we are coming up to the hour of 7 o'clock. And it can be very tempting to put your hour hand after the 7 because the words and the numbers say 7. But we're not actually at 7 o'clock yet. There's 10 minutes to go until we get to 7 o'clock. So actually your hour hand needs to be just before the 7. We are not quite at 7 o'clock yet. The hour hand needs to be shorter than the minute hand, but we are coming up to 7 o'clock. So placing it just before the number 7 is the right place to put it. And then finally over here, 25 minutes to 3 or 25 to 3. The minute hand, we count backwards because we're working towards the next hour. There's the 25. So we're going to put the minute hand on the 7. And then we are coming up to 3 o'clock. So we shouldn't be, with our hour hand, we shouldn't be past the 3rd hour. We are coming up to the 3rd hour. So I'm going to place my hour hand about halfway between the 2 and the 3 because we've just gone past the 2:30. So the hour hand going between the 2 and the 3 to show it is 25 minutes until we're going to be getting to 3 o'clock. Okay, that's what we have for this video lesson. Like I said, this video will be useful really for Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. It sort of covers the website work for those 3 days. So you can watch it 3 times if you like. You can watch different sections of it on different days. It will be up on our YouTube channel all week. So hopefully it's been helpful. I would also say as well, if you log on to Education City, there are 3 activities there which also work with analog clocks and show you about reading the time, and you might find those helpful as well. And we'll be back next week with another video for the next section of our website work, and hope to see you all soon. Take care.